Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 69th episode of the Manor Podcast. I'm your co-host, Roger Bodee, joined as always with my best friend and other co-host, Michael Hamilton. Michael, you don't drink coffee, so you don't enjoy pumpkin spice lattes like I do. I'm a basic bitch. I love pumpkin spice lattes. What's your, fall is coming exciting thing that you have going on? Are there any foods or fall items that you usually enjoy this time of year?
I don't think I do anything special food wise or eating wise, drink wise.
Pumpkin pie?
No, I'm not I don't usually have pumpkin pie because I don't usually.
You're just not a pumpkin person?
Pumpkin pie either. Yeah, I'm not a pumpkin person. That's not incorrect.
I love pumpkin. I like pumpkin seeds. I like pumpkin carving. I like pumpkin spice lattes. I like roasted pumpkin. It's just a squash. You can have that. It's pretty good.
Is pumpkin spice just like pumpkin seasoning, basically? Like the seasoning that tastes like pumpkin?
It's like pumpkin pie seasoning. So it's got like nutmeg and cinnamon and like all these other it's just a combination of flavors that's just delicious. But so over the years,
is there any pumpkin and pumpkin spice?
No. It's just flavoring.
Okay.
You're not actually drinking pumpkin. But I've had 3 this week. I've had 3 pumpkin spice lattes, which I normally don't get Starbucks hardly ever at all, but they hooked me. They've hooked me with their pumpkin spice once again this year.
When the seasonal items are in, 'tis the season.
Yeah.
Is it even a seasonal item?
Not drink coffee? It's a seasonal item. It's only around for 5 months of the year, which is actually way longer than you think it would be. It usually pops up around now, September, September, and then it stops sometime around December. So I guess 3 months out of the year.
I see.
And then they come in with peppermint, and that's just gross. I hate peppermint flavored things.
Why?
It's just it's not appealing to my taste buds. Why don't you like coffee?
Okay. Because it's gross.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. So what are we talking about today?
Let's review Nationals deck lists. Let's critique people's ability to build deck lists, even though they won tournaments. What we like about deck lists, what we think is going to keep going forward, and yeah, you want to review some deck lists?
Yeah, I do love critiquing deck lists that win tournaments. It is a good hobby.
Yeah.
All right.
So what tournament winning deck list are we starting with?
Let's start with Big Bad Lexi.
I hate Lexi.
So Isaak took down. So Isaak Krut took down Canadian Nationals with Lexi. His list is actually very different from the list that the Wolfpack was playing. So going through his equipment, he has final spring.
Wait, we're not doing that. We're not reading.
We're not doing that?
Not reading. We don't read anymore. Remember, we stopped. People said that they don't like hearing all the items. Remember, we don't read the deck list off anymore.
So we're just gonna talk about the deck list without reading it. Did we do that last time?
Yeah, that's exactly what we did last time, and it was our most popular deck list review episode.
All right. I will not read through the thing. So we're going to talk about
the notable cards. Yeah, let's talk about some notable equipment. We got Quiver of Abyssal Depths floating around there, respecting that fatigue.
Yeah, both quivers. A lot of decks just play one. Even I think we saw Craig Crumples at US Nationals was just playing Abyssal Depths and not playing Rustling Leaves, but here we see both quivers. We have AB2 with Trench of Sunken Treasure and Nulring Gloves. So against the Wizards, you have AB2 if you want it. No Shock Charmers, so going with Nulring Gloves over Shock Charmers for both Kano and Iyslander. Then Tunic, of course, and then everything else is pretty typical. We see both shoes, both Perch Clapplers and Snapdragon Scalers, just basically all the equipment that you might play, except I guess Shock Charmers is missing.
What do you think about that New Horizon headpiece, though? Do you think that might be the best headpiece? Do you think maybe they might want to swap that out with something else? Crown of Providence is pretty good.
I would not recommend swapping your New Horizon to be a Crown of Providence, especially these Lexi decks that create so many ponder tokens with Codex of Frailty, Codex of Inertia, and Premeditate. Having all of those, you definitely want the extra arsenal slot because you're going to have some stupid random arrow face down in your arsenal. You're going to use your Lexi hero ability to flip it face up. And then New Horizon gives you that second arsenal slot. It's real important so you can like do multiple things on your turn, not just fire one arrow.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. So if we're looking at cards in deck, though, we got some Lightning Press. That's not as I know Yuki was on some Lightning Press, right? That's been picking up more and more popularity.
Yeah. Yuki played 3 when she won the Calling in Las Vegas, and we see 3 here in Isaac's list as well.
Not a lot of poppers, though. That's for sure. There's only 2 Command and Conquer, 1 Battering Bolt. That's it for poppers, right?
Yeah. So I actually think that's where Lightning Press shines the most, is the fact that if a Dromai is trying to fatigue you or block you out, then these Lightning Presses look great. They're just like pumping your arrows over, block points, getting your on hits through, just presenting extra damage. But if the Dromai is trying to race you and they build up a board of dragons that you need to answer with a popper, then Lightning Press kind of doubles the popper. Sure, it takes an extra card to pop with it, where you have to like play an arrow and then or block with an arrow, then Lightning Press it to pump it to 7 power or 6 power. But it kind of does. It kind of is very clean against Dromai for that reason, and then it also is much better against these fatigue decks just playing big dumb poppers. So Lightning Press, really an all-star in the spot.
That's fair. Like I said, I forgot completely about the Lightning Press your defending card trick. That's cute.
Yeah.
What about these what about these tar pit traps? Explain tar pit trap to me. Why would you play tar pit trap? What's this card doing?
So tar pit trap is good against Katsu and Lexi, I think, are the main matchups that you're looking to play it, where you block something that has go again with it, and then their next attack that hits won't trigger an on hit. So if they fire an endless arrow for 4 go again, you're like, oh, do I block for 4 and then just get blown out by Rain Razors? Do I block for 6? And then if they just don't Rain Razors, then I'm really sad. Well, tar pit trap says you don't got to worry about it. You just block for 3 and it doesn't have an on hit anymore. So essentially like saving you full card of value sometimes, where you don't have to commit like a whole extra card to stop the on hit, when these on hits are sometimes worth a full card of value. And then tar pit trap's also kind of nice that it's a yellow. So a lot of Lexi lists are on Arctic Incarceration, multiple copies of it. This one is not, but a lot of them are. So in the Lexi mirror specifically, having a yellow instead of like, let's say a Frailty trap at red is very nice, where you're just more likely able to pay for frostbites.
Yeah, that makes sense. The one card that you can't put in your deck a tar pit trap at the same time, I imagine, are these also Codex of Inertias. You probably can't put Codex of Inertia and tar pit trap in your deck at the same time, huh?
You can, because so if you
just seems so dangerous.
If you Codex of Inertia with your Lexi ability available still as like your last card in hand, you hit the tar pit trap, you activate Lexi to flip it face up, you pass, and then you draw for your ponder and arsenal the card. So in order for your opponent to kind of get you, then first they have to not attack you at all. Otherwise you can just play out the tar pit trap on whatever they attack you with and block for 3. And second, even if they decide not to attack at all, if your arsenal is just something that has go again, or something that has a way to get go again, like a Boltyn shot or Falcon Wing, or you even just have Snapdragons available, or it's a non-attack action like Premeditate or Ice Quake or something like that, then you can just play it out, still use your Voltaire to load some arrows and fire some arrows. So it's not the end of the world if you hit a tar pit trap off your Codex of Inertia. And then also when you play Codex of Inertia...
go ahead.
When you play Codex of Inertia, if they're not attacking you after you Codex of Inertia them, then they have an Inertia token. So what are they doing with their card?
Well, I was thinking about the classic Michael Hamilton trap your opponent with the defense reaction arsenal. So Lexi can't double arsenal for the rest of the game. Do you think she could be fatigable at that point?
Yes, she's definitely fatigable. But the
Like if you
decks
just
that you
like you
want
see the tar pit
against,
trap face up and you're just like, I'm not attacking anymore.
yeah, but the decks that you want tar pit trap against, I mentioned Katsu, I mentioned Lexi. Those are matchups where you can't fatigue them by blocking because your deck just doesn't have enough block value in it.
Let me hit you with this angle too. You attack with a Heat Seeker, you get its trigger. Then you play Codex of Inertia. Oh no, unlucky. Tar Pit Trap. You flip it up, and then you resolve your Heat Seeker trigger. Oh no, it's the second Tar Pit Trap. Now you have 2 Tar Pit Traps in your arsenal. What do you do then?
Well, couple things. First, if that happens, then if your opponent does not attack for the rest of the game, it's probably just a draw. I guess they can very slowly pitch stack to have the perfect hand. But
yeah,
if someone has to take a game action or it's going to be a draw, and if neither player is taking a game action, then it's going to be a draw. They can pitch stack the perfect hand, but you're going to have a 6-card hand with your 2 tar pit traps and your 4 cards in hand. So even if they pitch stack perfect hand, it has to be quite good to kill you. And they have to be able to pitch stack without attacking you. So something like Voltaire that lets you do that. I'm not actually sure what other heroes are capable of pitch stacking without attacking you. Iyslander can do it.
Runeblade's a little bit.
They're going to max on rune chance,
Peak.
but I guess if you get double tar pit trap and they just get to have like 8 extra rune chance and a pretty good hand, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, especially if the 4 cards you draw after your double or tar pit trap in arsenal is like lightning press, premeditate.
Well,
Codex.
Fortunately, you can just keep pitching those cards to Voltaire if the game state reaches that point.
That's
you have the weapon that lets you just pitch cards and put whatever you want on the bottom of your deck. But ultimately, there's 2 tar pit traps. There's not that many matchups that you're going to be playing both tar pit traps into, and the odds that happens are both very low, and even when it does happen, it's not even game over. So I think tar pit trap is solid inclusion.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I was just memeing a little bit. What about these cold snaps? These are interesting, right? These aren't. This is new technology in Lexi.
Yeah, 2 blue cold snap, not something we usually see. It's just okay. The blues after the blues in Lexi are all kind of mopey after Winter's Bite. I think 3 blue Winter's Bite is like, you start with that. You probably get your 3 blue Boltyn shots in because Boltyn shot's so good. And then after that, the blues kind of like fall off quite a bit. So we see no Frostlock, but we see cold snaps here. I think cold snap is a 2 block, so that kind of sucks. But it is one of the blues you're happiest to see off of a Ponder token because you're going to give them a Frostbite, then you're going to pay a resource to both make it so they probably get their arsenal frozen and you just draw a new card for a resource rather than firing some mopey blue arrow. So makes sense.
Yeah, I like it. So what do you think about Lexi as a whole in the meta going forward? She's at a little over 900 living legend points. Are we just going to suffer through another 2 months of Lexi beating us up over and over and over again, bashing our head against the wall? Or do you think LSS should ban something?
So I feel like that's kind of the way you worded that question feels like it's like, yeah, we should either keep losing the Lexi over and over again or they should ban something. And I think in the world where they don't ban something, I don't like it very much.
I'm leading you to an answer that I want to hear.
So I think we kind of saw the full like circle. We saw US Nationals where these Lexi decks were not prepared to take on fatigue. They were not prepared to play these long games. They were like, at least the Wolfpack Lexis were overtaxed for Dromai. And even then, I don't know if our Dromai matchup was that good still. We saw these like Yuki's list and Isaak Krut's list both play Lightning Press. They're pretty ready to fight these fatigue decks. They're not like as vulnerable. We see Quiver of Abyssal Depths and Isaac's list. We see 3 Codex of Inertia, 3 Lightning Press. A lot of these tools that are just very good against fatigue in general. And we also see it. We see it in the red arrows slots. What he's worried about. We only see 1 copy of Remorseless. So this is like saying I'm not targeting Lexi mirrors. I'm targeting these fatigue decks, these decks that are trying to block me out. And instead of playing Remorseless, which doesn't really have an on hit against these decks that are trying to block a lot, we see a red sedation shot. We see, I guess I don't know what else is specifically there, but Sedation shot in, only one remorseless. Definitely not focus on the Lexi matchup.
The cold
so
snaps
I
might be a
think
little
Lexi
nod
just
to the Lexi matchup, right? Cold snap's pretty good against Lexi.
yeah, and then the 2 target traps are definitely there for the Lexi mirror. But like, there's definitely tools for Lexi to fight the different ways that people are attacking her. I think this is kind of just like a sign that Lexi is the best deck and can probably, if you know what the enemy is, you can probably build your deck to beat it.
That's fair.
As Lexi. So I would like to see Lexi touched again. I think that, I guess personally, I've had 2 tournaments where I was like testing a bunch of stuff and I'm just like, yeah, I can't beat the Lexis that are prepared for this. I think I should just switch to Lexi. And I was pretty happy with my decision to switch to Lexi at both PT3 and US Nationals. So
yeah, PT3 was in April.
Best deck.
That was 5 months ago.
That's, yeah.
It's been a long time of Lexi being. I'm so fucking sick of Lexi. Like, I don't know if this must be how people felt about Oldheim when they were just like, just get Oldheim out of here. I hate Lexi. I've hated this deck for 5 months now. It's just unfun to play against. The power level spikes are just far and above away better than everything else in the game right now. And it's just like, what are we doing here? Come on.
Yeah, I think it kind of it's kind of showing that, like, to me, it's showing that their kind of ban philosophy has changed from when they banned they banned Oldheim, Iyslander, and File all at once. They're like, these 3 decks are too far above the rest, and they banned Belittle, they banned Hypothermia and Amulet of Ice and Winter's Wail. That was like, yeah, they wanted to shake things up huge, and I feel like the community kind of wasn't super happy about that. And now we're seeing the other side where they're like, yeah, Lexi's the best deck by a mile. Let's tone her down a little bit. Now she's just the best deck by 2/3 of a mile. And
yeah,
people aren't happy with that either. So it feels like they're kind of like, whatever they do, people aren't going to be happy with it. So I don't know what the best answer is. Lexi is definitely the best deck. I think she's been the best deck for a long time, which isn't great, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, I guess I don't care. It could be the worst meta of all time. I'm not really playing much Flesh and Blood anymore, so have fun, everybody.
You're going to Dallas, right?
Oh yeah, I am going to Dallas, and I guess I should play in a Pro Quest or something like that too at some point. But aside from that,
yeah.
Let's talk about my boy Boltyn. He won Dutch Nationals with Bradley Wayburne, so congrats winning over all the way in the Netherlands over there. And it looks like we are playing some new technology. Look at all these bannerets. Oh my god, these are 9 bannerets? 9? That's so many bannerets. I mean, I get that you want to be charging 9 is cards, a lot, but like, what do you think about? Oh, and there's more bannerets in the sideboard. Jesus Christ, they never end. Look at there's Spellbane Aegis bannerets.
Well,
what are we doing?
Spellbane Aegis is spicy. 12 bannerets, definitely a lot of bannerets. You gotta charge your bannerets to make your stuff a good rate, right?
This deck list is blowing my mind in real time as I'm looking at it. There's not a single blue card in this entire deck. No blues. This is 0 blues. The Frostbites don't exist.
That's how they made space for the Sabres combo and for the Raiden plan.
Yeah, so we got Raiden in the main deck, and we got Saber combos in the sideboard, but no Gallantry Gold. So no comboing with Gallantry Gold. It's just we're just doing it with Naked Sabers and a Courage Blade Hold. We also have a Soul Bond Resolve. I wonder what matchup that comes in for. Maybe the ice matchups, because then you just try to do.
There's 3 chess pieces, huh? Soulbound Resolve, First Final Spring Tunic, and Courage of Blade Hold.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So much of this deck is just blowing my mind. The more I look at it, it's just like it's like a puzzle wrapped in an enigma that like I just can't comprehend at this level. 2 Celestial Cataclysms.
We also see no copies of V for Valor.
Everybody hates that card. People hate that card so much. And it also makes sense if you're not playing blues. Engulfing Light still
fair.
here. Courageous Steel Hand. It's amazing to me that people are like, yeah, Viva Valor sucks. Give me Courageous Steel Hand. And I'm like, what? I hate Courageous Steel Hand. I've always hated Courageous Steel Hand. All the way back when I played Boltyn in Orlando 3 years ago at this point, 2 years ago, however many years ago is this point. People are like, where's your Courageous Steel Hand? I'm like, that card sucks. It's not good. It's so bad. I hate Courageous Steel Hand.
I think
It's
the card's solid. If your deck's all in on charging every turn, then it's just the +3 attack reaction, which turns on your Boltyn ability and hopefully pushes through some of these on hits. See 6 Bolts of Courage, 3 Engulfing Light that you want to hit. And then the beacon of when you hit them, gain a life. Also, you care about it hitting. Or not beacon, the banneret.
Yeah, I guess you could technically charge or hit your Command and Conquer with it if you did that somehow.
Yeah.
The other card that I'm surprised to see more and more people play is Light the Way. Light the Way. That card makes me sad.
Yeah.
It's the one that if you charge a yellow card, if you hit, you get go again. So jump through a hoop and jump through another hoop that your opponent lets you jump through, and then you get your action point.
Yeah, it kind of forces them to block it if they don't want you to have go again, which kind of turns on your Boltyn ability, your Boltyn hero power to give it go again if they block with an attack action. So it'll have go again anyway. It's kind of like more consistent having go again than maybe like a red Bolt of Courage or something, where they can just be like, no blocks. Do you have a way to give it go again? So
go ahead.
Yeah.
What do you have to say? I want to hear your Boltyn thoughts.
I don't think the card's very good, but you need the critical mass of charge cards. And I think all of the cards basically that say charge on them are pretty mopey. So Light the Way is probably better than
the Vanguard's pretty good.
Charge card. Well, that one, yeah, sure. That one's very good.
Yeah, 3 good charge cards. Take Flight's also good.
I can get behind, honestly, Red Beaming Bravado being good, Red Bolt of Courage being good, Red Take Flight being good, and Via the Vanguard being good. I think all 12 of those cards have a solid argument that they are good.
Yeah.
After that, it gets a little more dicey.
Yeah, it's dicey real fast, that's for sure. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm excited to play Boltyn once Lexi rotates. And then I look at Boltyn cards and I'm like, am I really excited? This is really what I want to be doing with my life.
Spirit of Urine is a sick card. And then Lumina Ascension's a sick card.
Beacon of Victory is a sick card. I'm just imagining drawing a hand of like Banneret, Beacon of Victory, Valiant Thrust, and I'm like, what are we doing here?
That's why you
I guess the new
charge
headpiece
card in Arsenal.
That's why you played the new headpiece. The new headpiece, I guess, will give you that makes that hand actually perfectly functional because you can just pitch it to charge.
Yeah, the headpiece is not out yet, right? The spoiler.
Yeah,
it's a spoiler.
Bologna's something, right? The something.
Yeah,
something
this list just has Crown of Providence for the hat. So I guess there's a Halo of Illumination also, probably part of the Sabers combo package, but
Warband of Bologna.
Crown of Providence.
I guess we can talk about that new spoiler.
Combo. Yeah, sure, go for it. What does the card do?
It's a temper 2-block headpiece action for 2 resources. Destroy this. Next time you attack this turn, you may charge your hero soul. If a yellow card is charged this way, draw a card. It has go again on the action. It's good.
So 2 resources. It's 2 resources?
Yeah, 2 resources. So you're pitching a yellow, charging yellow, probably attacking with Raiden because it costs 0 resources. I'm just so numb at this point. I can't this card should make me super excited and happy, but like I'm just so dead on the inside to Boltyn being good. I look at this card and I'm like, this card can't actually be good, right? There's no way. They refuse. There would no way there would actually be a good Boltyn card printed ever again.
They've given Boltyn so much high rarity equipment. So many high rarity cards in general, also with the Spirit of Irina in here as well. So
yeah, well, I mean, he has Soulbound Resolve. This now, like, does Light Warrior have the most like pieces of talented equipment?
Warrior also has 2 legendary gloves and legendary shoes, and the shield I believe is a majestic too.
Yeah.
So
no legendary weapons yet, which is really surprising to me. I'm really surprised we've never seen a legendary weapon. I don't know.
So I think it kind of makes sense to shift away from that with weapons living legending with the heroes, or I guess they were never there, but like if they were considering it, I think it makes sense to move away from it or not go that direction.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
All right.
I'm behind it.
Boltyn still doing Boltyn things. Saber's combo, Raiden, both are not amazing, but I guess good enough to take down 2 tournaments. So go Boltyn.
Yeah, he's clearly playable. You know, he won 2 national tournaments. Great deck. Yeah. Can't say anything bad about it.
Okay, next.
Well, to be fair, we all know how your heroes that you rate C tier wind up doing. Now he's going to win 4 tournaments in a row.
Wait, who did I put in C tier that won 4 tournaments? Oh, Iyslander. Yeah, I also put Briar kind of low too. So,
what are we going to do? Did I talk about Iyslander now? Luxembourg Nationals from Adam Matecki.
Yeah. So we have a Bullander list here. We got 3 wounded. Yeah, Bullander. 2 fate for scenes to go with the 3 sync blows. A bunch of D reacts.
Got some Brother in Arms popping up again.
Yeah, Brother in Arms is back. 3 energy potions. This list looks exactly like Majin Bei's list.
Majin Bei's just on 3 energy potions. I think that's the most surprising thing about this list to me. I know energy potions were very much trimmed. So playing 3 again is just interesting to me.
Yeah, it's just like, I think the theory behind it from listening to his talk is that there's no sideboard card that gives you more edge in any matchup than Energy Potion does in the Wizard matchup. So you might as well just max out on Energy Potions.
That's fair.
One notable exclusion from this list. This is not Majin Bei's list. It has 0 copies of Warmonger's Diplomacy. Just not even bothering.
I can get behind that.
If you know all the Lexi are going to register Trench against you anyway, then I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, what's the point?
Warmonger's Diplomacy. Because you're never casting it if they're playing Trench, and that's the matchup that's there.
For as much as everybody complains about Warmonger's Diplomacy, I feel like there's like one deck. It's just hosing Azalea at this point in time, right? I guess maybe Viscerai a little bit, but for a generic card to be good against 2 decks in like the entire field, I actually don't think it's that bad. Like I think Warmonger's has caught a little too much hate.
Yeah, I still don't know if it should be a blue block 3. I think probably shouldn't be. We're looking at, I guess, thinking about some of these blue 2 block defense reactions that are like very narrow niche and sometimes you get better than 2 points.
Have you heard Brian's spiel about why it's a blue block 3?
No, I don't think so. How come?
So his rationale was if it blocks 2, it's unplayable. If it's a yellow, it's unplayable. So modifying it or making it any worse makes it so that it's basically just a non-functional card. So it has to be a blue block 3 in order for it to actually see play. What are your thoughts on that?
So I guess I don't know if that's true. Because if you look at other like of these like sideboard hoser cards, like you look at like Fog Down as another example. It's like a yellow 3 block that costs 3. So it costs a whole extra card and is a yellow compared to being a blue. I think Fog Down at blue block 3 would see some play. Hypothermia blocks 2, similar, where it's just like
Fog Down at blue would actually be sick in Bravo because you'd have a 3 cost blue that turns on Anathos. Yeah,
that's true. Hypothermia is similar, where it's hosing very specific things. It is a blue block 2. Saw a lot of play before it got banned. I think Iyslander was part of that, but it also saw some play in Oldheim back when Oldheim was looking for things to do against Dash and Channel Out Heroic Briar. So Hypothermia, another example of just
when the heavier ice builds of Lexi were playing it.
Okay,
if memory serves. I think I remember.
I don't remember exactly what. I don't remember exactly what Lexi list back then looked like. I feel like my perception of Lexi I forgot all the history, and now I'm just like, it's the a million arrows Codex of Frailty
Codex
deck that we know and love today.
Love.
So I am suspect of his statement that it would see no play if it was not a blue block 3. I think blue block 2 or yellow block 3 would both see some play, not nearly as much as it does now, but I think there would be many games where you would want to pack it and it would be much more common to not include it. But if we're seeing Iyslander trim it or cut it already, then maybe it's not too good. Maybe it's fine.
Yeah, I really don't think the cards do good. As the format evolved and shaken out, and decks have figured out more and more ways to play around it. And I even think there are builds of Iyslander and Viserai that like can hedge their bets to play around it if they really want to. And it's one of those things where as it's popped, like as it gets decreasing in numbers, as those decks are played less and less, the more it's just time to play like, okay, well, let's just play these decks. Nobody's packing the hate anyways, and they can function. And we can kind of start seeing that cycle pop through, kind of we see with Arcane Barrier. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense where like you have first this card comes out, it's really good. People play Viserai and Azalea anyway and just lose to the card over and over again. Card seems broken. People stop playing Azalea and Viserai. So at some point it stops being worth the slots when those heroes aren't being played. You stop playing the card and then suddenly these heroes that are quite powerful are kind of free to come back. And then when they come back, cards should start seeing play again. Loop cycle. Sure. That's a reasonable take.
Yeah, for sure. We're moving on to Bravo. We're talking about some Bravo in Malaysia with Kok Bin.
Sure. So,
what do you think about Bravo? Is he still mopey?
He's better
still
than
doing some mopey Bravo things.
Mostly I think he's better than I thought
Bravo.
he was because he. Yeah. I think if I had realized that I wasn't happy with Briar soon enough, then maybe I would have ended up on Bravo. I think Ben took him to second place at the calling, Ben Hannon, and I was kind of talking to him a little bit about Bravo, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm on board, but I just honestly haven't played enough Bravo to feel comfortable taking him to nationals when I played a lot of Lexi, and Lexi's probably better than Bravo anyway. So, yeah, I think Bravo's good. I think he has a pretty reasonable Lexi matchup, which helps a lot. I think a lot of his other matchups aren't great. I think Iyslander is probably pretty favored or at least slightly favored into him. I think Dash is favored into him. I think Briar is definitely favored into him, though Briar is gone now. And we'll see. I don't actually know. He has a very good Azalea matchup. We'll see. I think he is probably, or I think he's a reasonable choice, especially if Lexi is still around. I think if you want a deck that can at least be reasonable into Lexi, then Bravo is worth considering. Though, again, if you look at Isaak Krut's deck, I think Isaak Krut's Lexi deck looks quite good against Bravo. It's positioned to fight Bravo pretty well with Cutting Remorses, still playing all the hamstring shots and playing all the Codex of Inertias and stuff. So, yeah, that's interesting. But this Bravo deck, I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is it's only playing one copy of Fate Foreseen to go with the 3 Sync Blow, just kind of hedging away from defense reactions.
Playing some unmovables in that spot instead. Some red unmovables floating around, which is interesting.
Oh, I see. Yeah. The 2 red unmovables.
Mm-hmm. Then there's Zel's belting, which makes sense. So I guess I could talk about this now. So I was working on Bravo for a very long time, and I didn't wind up committing to Bravo because I felt like as people got better in the format, especially on the Wolfpack or the meta as a whole, as decks kind of got streamlined and things got figured out more, Bravo got worse and worse. And I think Bravo's really good at punishing inefficient decks or players who are playing inefficiently against him, just because he has, good blocking capabilities and efficient weapon, but also punishes opponents for kind of not playing optimally. So when your opponent's not playing optimally and they're kind of missing points of damage, or they're kind of giving you that space, that gives them the room to be like, okay, cool, I'll just take this vanilla 10 damage or whatever that's going on this turn. Here's a dominated Spinal Crush, or dominated Crippling Crush, or dominated Starstruck now. And so before, he just didn't really have that critical density of like threats to capitalize on that, but that's definitely changed now. I would say so going back to Zell's belting, Dromai is still an incredibly challenging matchup for him. So in that slot, instead I was playing Out Muscles, red. And I think I was even on a couple blue before putting down the deck, just because you get a popper and it's going to have go again into most matchups that you're playing it in against anyways. I think you really just only lose equity in like the mirror, but not super concerned about that. And I was really unhappy with Zell's belting because you have 6 less blue 6 powered attacks than Oldhim. So Oldhim had access to Glacial Footsteps and what was the mulch? Yeah, I was like, then there's the Earth one. I could remember it. Yeah, mulch. But instead, you're playing Imposing Visage and Showtime in those slots. And those cards don't turn on Zell's belting. And so there are quite a number of hands that I was experiencing that just Zell's belting just didn't have go again. And that card's real bad when it doesn't have go again. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, just the old two card 5, not where you want to be.
Yeah. And at the start of this conversation, I was like, maybe the future is really bright for Bravo too. Because like once Lexi goes away, like maybe the format slows down a little bit and then he can just come in and dominate things. I was like, oh wait, Dash and Dromai are just going to come up. And he's also not particularly amazing in Iyslander either, which is a little counterintuitive.
I don't think that matchup's horrible for him, the Iyslander matchup, but I would rather be on the Iyslander side.
Same. I think the last interesting thing about this particular deck list, though, was there's 3 blue pummels on top of the 3 red pummels. Blue pummel doesn't see a lot of play, but I guess just really looking to put his foot on the gas pedal and just push those on hits as much as possible.
Yeah, and giving up the Warmonger's diplomacies here as well to make room for him.
Not seeing a lot of Warmongers floating around. It might be Zalia's time to shine.
Yep. Possibly.
Maybe.
Speaking of Dromai, you want to move on to Dromai?
Let's talk about some Dromai.
All right, so Marcel Harz.
We did it. Unplayable hero.
Took down the German nationals with Dromai.
Okay, maybe not unplayable.
Yeah, especially after she gets her new card. That tome's gonna be quite good.
Oh man, the tome makes me sad. So, have you seen the most recent? So we're a week away from the ban announcement, and all of a sudden, people on Twitter are beating for a card to be banned in Classic Constructed out of Dromai. Can you name the card that I've seen the most people want banned out of Dromai? Just take a guess in the dark.
I didn't know there were people wanted a card banned from Dromai.
People want. I've seen multiple people call for this ban.
Is it a Draconic Illusionist card?
No. Oh yes. Hold on. Yes, it's a Draconic Illusionist card.
Okay. My first guess was Remembrance. So.
Yeah, it's not Remembrance.
Is it Dust Up?
Nope. It's Invoke Tumulti. People want Tumulti banned.
Oh. Interesting.
I don't know, dude.
I do kind of get it because in the Lexi matchup, a lot of the time the game comes down to is Tumulti blowing up your New Horizons. And the fact that so many games are just decided by finding Tumulti early enough and then hitting 2 reds on top after having to put blues in your deck to make sure you could cast the Tumulti. It's just kind of like really high variance games. And it feels really bad when you lose to, as a Lexi player, to get your New Horizons getting blown up on turn 3 or something. And as the Dromai player, I guess the Dromai players are
people are calling for the ban on the one check that is high variance on Lexi. That's basically that's how I see it. I see it as there's like one high variance check on Lexi, and you can say, well, it feels bad. Okay, well, like name any single deck that has any single good answers to anything Lexi's doing.
Lexi has some good answers to Lexi. Have you ever played a Codex of Frailty against your Lexi opponent? It feels pretty good.
You can say maybe Uzuri, but even then, that's like if Lexi just pivots to a little bit more ice, then that matchup's like not that bad. It's like 50-50 at when that's her worst matchup is 50-50. And I think it's just like pushing things too far to say like, oh, let's ban Tomultai because it can maybe sometimes beat Lexi in an well, it's like, I don't know. I think it's a fine card to exist. It's a one of. It's not happening a lot. There's deck building requirements, like you're saying. It's hard to cast a lot of the time. Maybe not so much with the new tome. It'll get easier to play, but I guess I just don't care that much about a one-off effect that blows up equipment, because we've already seen effects like this be important to a metagame. In like, what was the ice card that blew up equipment that was seeing play?
Expose the elements.
I can't. Expose the elements. That card was seeing some play for a little while, and I think that card's fine. Like, that nobody was upset about that card, and I think it was easier to blow up the equipment that you wanted to blow up with expose than it was. Oh, it was in old time mirrors. That's right. I remember. If you ever got like your tunic or something like that exposed, or your crown of seeds blown up in the old time mirror, then like it was really good. And I just think calling for a Tomultai is like a step too far, and something I just wholeheartedly like just think is silly. But that's just one man's opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think Tomultai should be banned currently. I think right now Dromai is not even putting up results to warrant being touched. I think Dromai is like solidly in the top 10 decks in the format, but that's like okay.
Cool.
So I don't know. Okay. I get that it definitely does feel bad when you get your hat blown up. I don't think that
it feels bad when you die to a 3-of-a-kind Rain Razors. It feels bad when you lose to anything. What's a good what's a card that that kills you and you're like, oh, this was really, really fun and engaging. I'm glad I died to this really cool and fun, interesting thing that killed me. This felt really good. Yay! I love losing. Name that card. It feels bad when you die.
When I die in Lightning Strike, it just feels fine. That's fine. You got me, buddy.
It feels bad when you die to Frost Hex and Insidious Chills that just strips all your cards out of your hand and you didn't get to play the game because it just took all the cards. That feels bad. Should we ban Insidious Chill? Like, are we just banning cards that lead to like that win games that people think is not fair? Like, I don't understand.
I do think when you died of Frost Hex and Insidious Chill, you knew this was coming for like 15 turns, so it doesn't feel too bad.
I don't know. It's just like I no part of my brain understands even considering banning Tomultai. So yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I would not. I would not advocate for a Tomultai ban. I would be against it, but you know, I wasn't. I don't know.
People are allowed to have their opinions. Yeah, we did it. We got there.
No time skippers here. I think time skippers are some sweet tech when you're going first. You gotta pitch 3 reds, make 3 ash, play your time skippers.
You see the ghostly touch still floating around. Lots of invokes though. This has like the only. So we got the Tomultai, but no. What's the other big dragon that takes cards out of your opponent's hand?
Dominia.
No Dominia. One invoke Thamai. Interesting dragon ratios, but then 3 of everything else. All the dragons. Yeah. This is much closer to a big dragon build than Redline, then, right?
Yeah, there's 9 blues. I think the Enigma and the Embermoss Enterprise are being played in every matchup, and Passing Rush probably as well. So 9 blues, and then we see 3 Necria, so it's harder to make room for all the 2-cost dragons when you're playing 3 Necria.
Yeah. And only 2 copies of Remembrance to make your game last 55 minutes. Tragic. Only there was room for the 3rd, so you can go for 70 minutes.
It doesn't actually make the game last that much longer. It's just 3 extra cards. 3 cards minus a card, plus 2 cards.
Okay. I'm giving it 15 minutes per Remembrance. That's my heuristic.
So
until you come up with better heuristics. I'm standing by. Don't ban Tomultai. Don't ban it. That's the moral of the story. But you know what? We should. Plus, we got Katsu. Look at the sweet Katsu deck. You want to talk about some Katsu? It's only 2nd place in Battle Hardened Columbus, but like that's a pretty good showing for good old Katsu guy.
we're shifting a little bit from our nationals decks to look at a battle hardened list. Got second, losing to Lexi in the finals.
Shock. I'm shocked. What? How?
Lexi's
It's got
still
flick
good.
flack. How could it lose? It's you just block with your flick flag and you block with your combo card, and Lexi goes, "Oh no, I'm still only presenting another 18 damage after this. How can I win?" It's tragic.
Yeah. So I think we see some smart card choice here. We see Breeze Rider Boots again over Snapdragon Scalers. In a metagame with a lot of Lexi, just like having that one extra block in your equipment, it can make a pretty big difference. So Breeze Rider Boots instead of Snapdragon Scalers, and then the 3 flick flacks, like you said, and then 1 copy of Sync Blow on top of that to just try to help cover up those 4 power arrows.
We got Mask Momentum. We got Blazing Your Eye, which I think is some spicy tech as well.
Yeah. Good against Sigh,
I guess. Yeah.
It's fine against Katsu. You block a lot of the time. You'll block for 4 because you can block out Dishonor with it by itself. So
yeah,
if they do,
and we did it. We found our first Warmongers deck.
Yeah, Ninja's pretty good home for Warmongers Diplomacy. They don't play like any non-attack actions. So
yeah, we got a 1-of Snatch to go along with some things. A 1-of Razor Reflex. We got all 3 Mugenshi release. We're not messing around with the 1-of Mugenshi. We got 3 Mugenshis to make sure we can do our Lord of Wing combo on top of 2 Visit the Floating Dojo. So not fatiguing this Katsu. Not anymore.
Yeah. Though the main fatigue threat Oldheim is gone. And then against Bravo, I guess against Bravo it matters to have this stuff because you want to put the defensive cards in your deck to make sure you don't die to the dominate plan. So you have 2 reinforced line and a Sync Below. So you have the defensive cards to kind of like survive if Bravo tries to dominate things. So you just need like some cards that help if you are drawing a little bit clunky, you're drawing these defensive cards and the Bravo's just blocking a lot, then you do want to make sure you're not just going to run out of cards in deck.
What do you think Katsu's like missing from really competing with the tier 1 decks of the format? Like, what is the missing piece of the puzzle on this deck list when you're just looking at it?
So I think right now Katsu wants to fight against decks that don't have a lot of armor, so he's better at threatening Mask Momentum and his hero power over and over again. Right now, the decks that are good are Lexi, who does not have a lot of armor, but is also very good against decks that don't have a lot of armor. So Katsu kind of struggles there because Lexi's just so much better than basically everything. And the other decks that are doing well right now are all decks that have a lot of armor because you need a lot of armor to fight against Lexi. So I think that's Katsu's biggest issue is he wants to fight against the decks that have low armor. The decks that have low armor are not being played because they can't be Lexi.
That's fair.
Unless they're Lexi.
You want my hot take?
Go for it.
Good. I'm glad you like my hot takes. Harmonized Kadachi sucks in 2023. It's just not, they're not good. Not good. It's not good rate. One card, 2 damage. Not good. And I think it's also an extreme indictment then on stupid spider bites. Like if Harmonized Kadachi, if I'm saying is not good and not really what you want to be doing, I think spider bites is just like if assassins had like any other weapon option that was like good, I'd be all in on that class. That class looks sick if they get good weapons. They don't have it. And I think Ninja's starting to suffer from that particular, well, I guess Katsu in particular, just because his default off turns are just so bad and below rate. Like when things come together for Katsu, he feels broken. Like he's like, oh my god, like I'm just tutoring my deck and just attack after attack after attack after attack. And interestingly, there's not even Art of War in this deck to like really make those kind of turns like really pop off. Phi doesn't suffer from that as much since the Flame Blade is like just fine, pretty good rate. It helps him get the Draconic Chain Links. You get 3 damage out of your weapon consistently. Yeah, Ember Blade. Sorry, I said Flame Blade, Ember Blade. I think that weapon's like pretty respectable overall, especially considering that Phi is just a more aggressively slanted deck anyways. But I just think it's 2023. We're not Kadachi locking people out of the game anymore. The power level of the game has just kind of moved away from the Kadachis being like functional weapons anymore. But that's just my hot take.
Yeah, I think Kodachis are probably better than you're giving them credit for. It's not a full card for 2 damage. It's 2/3 of a card for 2 damage, which is the same rate as like Waning Moon on your turn if you're able to use your 1 floating resource. And like going like Kodachi into 1 for 5 is still a 2-card 7. It's very reasonable. I think the biggest issue is, first, there aren't good 1 for 5s in the game. So Kodachi into CNC is a real line that is quite good, but I said there aren't good 1 for 5s in the game. That's not true. Lexi has a bunch of great 1 for 5s. There aren't
just
a lot
that
of good
sensor
1
card,
for 5s.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of good 1 for 5s that Katsu has available to him. And then I think if he could, he would be happy to replace one of the Kodachis with like a weapon that said either 2 costs for 3 power, no go again, or 1 cost for 2 power, no go again, something like a Centauri Saber or something. If he had access to something like that, that would help smooth out the deck a lot more, because the problem with the Kodachi at the end of the game is if you don't have something to do that costs your action point, you're just being pretty inefficient with your resources, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like with like his inefficiency overall, like his floor turns are still extremely low because Kodachis just don't offer you like a lot of good, like if you draw like an all blue hand in Katsu, for example, like there's just no way to really like utilize that hand to do anything like effectively or meaningfully. And it just, I think a lot of that would be alleviated if you just had some kind of different weapon set, I guess, but I don't know. I think a lot of heroes would be a lot better if they had good weapons.
That's actually the biggest issue I ran into when I was working on Katsu. Oh gosh, when was I working on Katsu? It was like between Before Worlds Baltimore. And PT3. Sometime in that time frame when I was working on Katsu, and like I kept wanting to add more blues to my deck because I was trying to play like Surging Strikes, 2 cost attack actions, and I have these weapons that I want to use. I want to curve out and pitch a blue and swing a Kodachi or 2 Kodachis and play a 1 cost, or swing a Kodachi and play a 2 cost. And then I would add more blues to the deck because you run into the issue where you just don't draw the blues. And then if you add too many blues to your deck, now you run into the issue where you're drawing 2 and 3 blue hands, and Katsu has no real way to get value out of drawing multiple blues. And all of his blues kind of suck. Like they block 3, that's great. But like other than that, they just aren't good. They're really bad. It's not like Iyslander where if you draw an Insidious Chill and another blue, you're real happy you just play your Insidious Chill. Even like Bravo, you go Terra Sunder, Anathos, 3 card 7, that if it hits, they discard 2 cards and has Dominate. Like Katsu's just missing that like really impactful blue that's good on a blue heavy hand. And a lot of the stronger, more consistent heroes have that. Briar also has like Tome of Harvest where you draw 2 blues and Tome of Harvest.
Yeah. And I guess maybe it doesn't have to be a weapon then at that point, then just like, or like a piece of equipment that he could like dump resources into or something like that. Maybe make some kind of like a token effect, make his own courage tokens, make like a tiger or something like that, right? The spectral tigers.
Crouching tigers.
Something just like because it's just a little too soft. I think his floors are like, his floors are just a little too low. I think if we raise his floors up just like a little bit, he's a good deck. But I think no question his ceiling's super good, like I've been saying. But when he misses, he just looks like an embarrassing deck still.
And that combined with not being great against Lexi, rough. It's rough.
Moving on to decks that are embarrassing when they miss. Last deck you want to talk about is Kano, right?
Yeah, so Cedric Celera. Hopefully that's correct.
In the Philippines.
Took down the Philippines Nationals with Kano. Kano is... Oh gosh, what do I want to say about Kano?
He's embarrassing when he misses, but great when he doesn't.
I guess that's kind of true. I feel like we didn't really talk about Kano much on our last time we were talking about decks. And I think Kano's a deck that could be in a good spot if the format slows down a bit, because like you have time to set up like second cycle, double wildfire combos that beat basically anything your opponent can do. I talked in the Iyslander, when we were talking about Iyslander, I talked about how Iyslander has these 3 energy potions because they're really good in the Wizard Mirror. Well, if Kano's triple wildfiring you or something, then all the energy potions in the world won't save you, or maybe all the energy potions would, but three won't save you. So, I think Kano's in an interesting spot where he's does some very powerful things. I think his Lexi matchup's pretty bad, especially if they're on Heart of Ice or Shock Charmers or EB2. Codex of Inertia quite good against Kano as well. So, I think once Lexi goes away, Kano might have some time to shine, though.
I think this Kano player 300 IQ fixed them Lexi matchup, though. I don't know if you've seen this. There's a one of Imperial Edict floating around at the deck list. So you just pop that bad boy into play and you name 3 of a kind, and Lexi goes, "Oh no, I can't cast my 3 of a kind," and then you combo her, win the game. What do you think about that?
I don't think that card's there for Lexi. I think it's there for beating like Oasis or Respite out of the fatigue decks. Just make it you can kind of play more aggressively, and then you have Imperial Edict at the end to say, "No, you are not going to Oasis me. Sorry, buddy."
What if they Oasis in response?
Well, you activate it on your turn. You activate it on your turn, and then you're going to combo them on their turn. So it doesn't matter if Oasis goes away. That's not a turn.
Yet another reason why people need to be playing Enchanting Melody.
Yeah, you're right. Enchanting Melody, that's it. I guess the biggest thing that I almost overlooked in this deck is there's 3 copies of Enlightened Strike. So not going full on all the attacks, but 3 Enlightened Strike is 3 more attacks than we've traditionally seen in Kano.
Do you know why they're there?
Nope, tell me.
Iyslander. Lots of Kanos have been talking about playing attack actions, especially Finals Fighting Spirit has been seeing a lot of play. But, if you just want to make sure that you can kind of filter your deck through a little bit more, or just have a little bit more flexibility, it makes a lot of sense to play the Enlightened Strike. But just the attacks are just so good in the Wizard Mirrors.
Yeah. Weird being a wizard is not actually what you want to be doing in the Wizard Mirrors.
Yeah, you want to be punching. Yeah. We also see Eye of Ophidia floating around in here. Not a lot of Kanos play that card, but always happy to see that card floating around.
Yeah, it's high ceiling, high floor, or low floor. You hit it off Kano, it's awful, but you pitch it to Kano, it's very good.
Yeah. Anything else interesting going on in here? All equipment looks pretty normal. All the other cards look pretty stocky. Yeah. Oh, 3 Aetherize.
1 Chain Lightning.
Or 1 Aetherize, sorry. An Aetherize. Interesting. Yeah. What are we Aetherizing?
I think it's also there for Oasis, but I'm not positive. Could hit Lightning Press and Rain Razors, I guess, but that's not really how you want to be using a card. And it being a no block makes it a pretty big liability against Lexi.
And being an instant, so you can't Kano it, is also a pretty big liability.
Yeah. I imagine it's for these defensive decks looking to cast Oasis against you, but I'm not sure.
What a guy this Kano is. So what did you think about Nationals meta overall? Did you think it was fun? Did you think it was healthy? Did you think we're having a good time?
Yeah, I actually think the format, like, if it weren't for the fact that Lexi has been the best deck for a while, I actually think Lexi's a good deck to be the best deck. I think there's like a lot of agency in Lexi mirrors. I think that there are several different ways you can kind of attack Lexi, whether you want to take a kind of a fatigue angle, you will want to try to race her like Uzuri style with like a lot of disruption through traps and command and conquers. You want to kind of like toe the line as Bravo, where you want to both threaten a lot of on hits, then kind of use that to fatigue her. I think she is, in my opinion, a kind of like a pretty solid deck to be the best deck. And she also has no blocking equipment, so that is a pretty big, or very little blocking equipment, so that's a pretty big vulnerability. That said, she is definitely the best deck. She's been the best deck for 6 months. And I think the fact that she's been the best for so long just makes it kind of uncomfortable, and people are just ready for something fresh. And it feels like with Lexi looming over the metagame, we haven't gotten anything fresh. And then also Dusk Till Dawn being so low impact compared to Outsiders makes also makes the meta feel kind of stale, and like we've been playing the same format for a long time.
Yeah, agreed. I didn't have a lot of fun in the format at the end. I thought, I guess, like, I just wish Briar had a little bit more game into Lexi, so our team's build of Briar would have been good. Or maybe we figured out Fatigue Briar, but now that deck's gone, if that was also another good check on Lexi, if that's going away, that's also, I think, pretty problematic for the format. And we kind of saw for the rest of Nationals, like, nobody else picked up Charles Dunn mantle of Fatigue Briar to try to take down any Nationals. Like, and I don't really blame players because, like, what are you going to do? Buy into Briar right now that she's living legend to try to put this deck? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So even if it was a good answer to the format, the fact that people are so unlikely to pick it up just kind of made the format feel more imbalanced than it might have been otherwise if that just like wasn't a factor for people. And then obviously now that Briar's living legend, there's just not a fact. It just can't be a factor anymore. So I think that isn't great.
Fair.
But who knows? Maybe Bright Lights will come out and they'll just print a card that says destroy target Lexi player. Do you think that'll be a Mechanologist card?
I don't think so. They might add one more way to like pull the equipment onto the combat chain, because right now
that's not allowed. No, don't do that. Don't blow up New Horizon. That feels bad. You don't want to blow up New Horizon. You can't do. Why would you advocate for that, Michael? No.
I do think it's kind of not pleasant if your opponent just is consistently able to blow up a bunch of your equipment. I think that's not a good game experience. And I think it's kind of awkward.
We're not blowing up a bunch of equipment. We're not blowing up a bunch of equipment. What deck is blowing up a bunch of equipment?
If you're going T-bone into Magmatic Shockwave, you're making them block with all their equipment, right?
Sure. Okay. But that's just because you're blocking with a piece of equipment doesn't mean it's being blown up. There's lots of equipment that can block without being blown up.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. But I think there are a lot of cool decks in the format. I think if Lexi leaves the format, it'll be open for at least a little while. I don't think there's any clear like deck that's like the next deck to beat once Lexi's gone. Like even the Wolf Pack, they're like, yeah, all these different decks are good. So
I think Iyslander's close. I think Iyslander, it could be pretty oppressive in an unchecked field. But I guess like Dromai, if like Dromai wants to, and Dash can both pretty easily beat up Iyslander if they want to.
Yeah, I think both those matchups are really tough for Iyslander. Like I think Dash, just like most builds of Dash, are pretty favored into Iyslander, and then Dromai you can build a deck that's like quite good into Iyslander if that's the way you want to go, basically.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it just takes like if Dromai wants to fatigue Iyslander, you just put 2 Thaws in your sideboard and you're like, okay, I win. Congrats. Right?
It's not necessarily that simple. I think it's that simple. The rest of your deck matters a decent amount. Okay. Well, I know you're the Dromai expert around here, so I guess with that we should wrap it up.
Well, the next time you're not winning a tournament with Dromai, always remember, mind your manners.